All right. Happy
Hey,
Friday, everybody.
happy Friday.
It is a
Woo!
good Friday indeed.
Oh,
And
yeah, good times.
exactly. My name is Mother Banjo.
My name is Anthony Ihrig.
And joining us today on the back catalog listening party, my old friend, good to see you, Stephen Kellogg.
Hey, Stephen.
So good to see you guys. How are you?
Oh, well,
Excellent.
we're good now that we're here. I
Yeah.
mean, no matter what else has happened for you this week, for us at least, this is always the highlight. And seeing you all and getting to enjoy some music, catch up with some of our favorite artists, revisit old records, and have a little cheers, a little musical happy hour. So, hello,
Yeah.
Connie, joining us from Richfield.
Hey, Connie.
And we'd love to know what you're drinking out there, where you're tuned in from. Tony, what are you drinking on this Friday afternoon?
Going back to my old stomping grounds in Fort Collins, Colorado, but instead of the New Belgium brewery, we're going to Odell's, the other another
nice.
wonderful brewery there for their 90 shilling, which you can see is just a nice amber color and just
Ooh.
perfect
Nice
for
color.
the warmer weather and very tasty. How about you?
I am drinking a tequila and tonic today. So getting a little more south of the border on today's show. And then, Stephen, what are you drinking in Connecticut?
In Connecticut, I never tell what's in the mugs. Could be milk, could be whiskey. I don't know, but I am using my tour mug, and it's delicious. Whatever.
Excellent.
I'm drinking.
Well,
Gonna do quick.
you all out there can guess what's in his mug. I don't know if he'll
Yes.
tell you, but you can throw it in
You
there.
can try. Yeah.
Yep.
Get something for the best guess in there of what Stephen is drinking in his mug. And again, we're really excited to be here today. And Stephen, I was just realizing today that I've known you for 21 years,
Whoa.
which kind of blows my mind a little bit because we're 21 now, so I don't know
I know
how that happened.
It really is. It's staggering. And Josh Ritter, we met at the same time via Josh Ritter, and I texted with him yesterday and said we were doing this, and he sent his regards. He's like, give him my love, and just that was a happy day when we all met.
I know. I was actually looking for a photo of us. Luckily for all of us, I did not find the photo that of us wearing our Jigs hats. But for folks who might not go back as far with Stephen as myself, I would love for you to give a little intro about yourself, your music, how you got into doing what you do, and all the things that you do, because it's not just music. So if you want to give us the little 2-minute
Sure.
life
The
history, yeah.
Self-history is always tricky. All right, I'm going to try, folks. No, I mean, I grew up on my dad's records, Crosby, Stills and Nash and whatnot, and then my sister threw a wrench in the works when she took me to see Whitesnake and Motley Crue when I was 10, and I was like, well, that job looks fun, but I sort of relate to this music. And that actually says something about the music I ended up making. But honestly, I didn't really imagine this would really be a job. I feel very grateful that I'm still here all these 21 years later doing it. And when we met, it was my first folk alliance that I'd gone to, and it just seemed like such a long shot of possibility. And then the way life goes, you do that. So I for now 17 records and 21 years later, you've played some good gigs and some bad ones, and more recently I did just put out my first book right at the beginning of the pandemic. Great timing for a book release.
Yep.
But I have my first book, and I do some speaking, and I just, and I'm a father to many, many daughters, and that's, me in a nutshell.
Lucky man.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
how many? 4 kids? Is that right?
4, yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's
and
awesome.
you are also from my home state of Connecticut. So that's also special
Wait,
for me.
your home state is Connecticut?
Yep. Grew up outside of New Haven.
Okay. I always had you as like Ohio, because you went to school in Ohio, right?
Yep. That's where I met Josh. Anyway. So
Okay.
yes. And actually my mom is joining us from Connecticut today. So hello, Mom. And then we have Mary from Arizona. and Gary from Minnesota.
Hey, Mary. I know Mary.
And Joe from sunny South Minneapolis, which is where Tony and I are joining you from today. And yeah, beautiful day in the Twin Cities. And it's a great day to listen to music. And I have to say, I was listening to this record while I was tending to a sick kiddo. And this album was lifting both of our spirits so much. So I can't wait to dig into this album. And maybe... I don't know. Do we just want to dive into the first song? Is there something you want to say to introduce the record, Stephen?
The only thing I'll say is, and the reason when you guys asked which record would be a good one to kind of go back in time with, but I feel like, so much of what being a young person or a young artist is about is sort of looking for your voice and what you want to say in the world. And I don't really have any regrets about my career, even stuff that might be bad on paper or whatever, but when I do look back to those early days, and how much I was searching it, and then I got this opportunity to put a record out on Universal Records, and I put a record out, and no regrets about that record, but it wasn't, I didn't feel like I uncovered who I was ultimately destined to be. This was the first record where I thought, I know who that guy is. Like, he's saying things that I want to say in the world. And this was maybe my fifth album or something, but it was the first time I had, so it's not about the recording of it, but these songs, it was like this batch of songs. I thought, I recognize this person and I think that's the future. So nice. That's what I would offer by way of introduction.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a listen.
All right. The first track we have lined up here is Sweet Sophia. Do you want to say anything before we spin it, or you want to wait till afterwards?
No, we'll talk about it after. Let's see. I haven't listened to this in a while. So here we go.
Nice. Well, here's Stephen Kellogg, Sweet Sophia, on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
When you showed up right on time. An elegant sweetheart that just blew my mind. I guess the keys to my castle had always been there. There for the taking, but nothing could prepare me. Sweet Sophia, girl, one look at you and I was hooked. And then Sweet Sophia, thunder in beds and the earthquake shook with your heart-shaped lips and my breath that you took. With a fierce disposition like the beat of a drum, you get hurt more than others, but you have more fun. I can't make it stop, so the love keeps on growing. And if it killed me today, I'd be better off for knowing. Sweet Sophia, girl, look at you and I was hooked in there. Sweet Sophia, burned all the pages and rewrote the book with your heart-shaped lips and my breath that you took. Well, you know who I am and I know where you're from. You may blame me later, that's okay, my love. You're my finest hour, believe what I say. And though I might go, I will never stay away. Sweet Sophia, girl, and look at you and I was hooked in that. Sweet Sophia, you stole my soul with a laugh and a look in your heart-shaped lips and my breath that you took. With your heart-shaped lips and my breath that you took. And my breath will come that you took. Sweet Sophia.
All right. Stephen Kellogg with Sweet Sophia from his album Glassjaw Boxers. And I should say, Stephen Kellogg and the Sixers. You recorded this with your band. And tell us who's playing the piano, because Connie was mentioning that. And it's such a great, and you know, it's a good chunk into the song before you really get the whole band kicking in.
Well, and I haven't listened to it this way in a while. I'm sure if you heard a live version of this song, it would be substantially faster. And I'm sure that, like, after doing that once live, we were like, it's too long, just bring the band in, like, pretty much right up the head, you know. But it's cool that we were trying that then, you know.
Yeah, it sounds, actually, it's really kind of refreshing, because you really get into the song, especially as a first track, you know. You get kind of sucked into the lyrical part, and then the band kicks in, and it's really nice. Yeah,
well, so that was Kit Carlson, you know, who was my right-hand man for all the Sixer years, and I think he joined my band as a bass player, and then was like, I do play some piano too. I mean, which is, and now I know, like, from this vantage point, I'm like, I feel like piano is such an integral instrument to my music, and I feel it so deeply myself. So I love that. You know, it was my first daughter had just been born when I wrote that song, and you know, I just thought, well, this is just for me. It's too personal, and this won't be a thing. And then I remember, you know, Mike, who produced that album, Mike Daly, said, I think this will be the lead off track. And it was an unreal experience when people responded to this song, because I just thought, this is just my little baby girl that I'm singing about and love and stuff. And now she's 16 years old in the other room, and you know, so it's just it's something to go back. It's a time machine. We know this, but I'm having this experience in real time. So,
well, that is the fun of the show, of course, is not just talking about the songs, but also watching our guest artists' reactions to hearing the songs, because you are transported in time, thinking about what happened when you wrote and recorded the track.
What I was going to say too is that when you mentioned that you kind of wrote it for yourself, and it was just this real personal piece. I think we've seen this time and time again on the show, that oftentimes those, you know, like very specific songs become the most universal, and I could totally relate to that as I was listening to the tune as well. So
yeah, do you guys? I mean, do you find, and you're both artists, you know? I mean, do you ever feel? And I've had labels tell me, like, Stephen, less dates and names, you know, like things like that, like. But I agree with you, Tony. I kind of feel like that's the stuff a lot of the times, you know?
I remember listening to, it was like a Steely Dan tune or something, and like Donald Fagen will just write about the specific person at a specific place at a specific time, and yet somehow I'm transported there, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm you know, I think it's all about, you know, your ability to create that world, you know.
Well, and I think it's the purity of emotion too, because if you're writing about something specific, it means that you're really in it. And I feel like that's what people relate to, is they relate to the emotion of the song, and you know, there's always pieces of themselves in there too. So I agree. I think the more specific or more personal the songs are, whether the right names are in there or not, we might not want to reveal the dates. I don't know. Date ourselves.
My buddy Mark called me after the last record I have has a song that's each verse is a dates, and he's like, man, you got everything but your kid's social security in this song.
It's like a hacker's dream.
Right. No, it is. It really is. Like, I am guilty of that. Plus, you know, the added stress now that as I had other children, it was like, well, you know, if I don't write proper songs across the board, when they're in therapy, they're just going to be like, well, here's the first thing my dad did wrong.
And they all have to kick off an album now, you know.
I know. And the thing is, they aren't all requested equally. So, like, for a while we were doing this all request tour, and people would vote, and the girls came out one night to a show, and I was like, we're not putting that board out there tonight. Like, I can't. If Noelle sees this, she's not going to like the way this goes, you know? So
Oh,
awesome.
I love it. Well, if you just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party today, we are talking with Stephen Kellogg about his album Glassjaw Boxer. And if you're new to the show, this is, again, we invite guest artists to talk about old records. We listen to them together and answer your questions. So if you have questions or comments about the songs or just questions for Stephen or for me and Tony, throw them in the comments and we will get to them as we can. And again, this is a full band record. Where did you record the album?
we did this at Longview Farms in Massachusetts. And a couple fast facts about this. That is the record. The Rolling Stones did quite a bit of work there over the years. Some big Death Cab for Cutie made their first big record there, so it had that, and we decided we couldn't afford it for the amount of time that most bands went in, but we were like, let's go spend 5 days really doing it. So we stayed on site.
Nice.
And we worked there, and they cook you meals and you sleep on site. So on the 5th day, young Sophia and my wife Kirsten stopped by. I was showing them around. It was an old kind of creaky house, and I missed a stair, fell down the stairs with Sophia.
Oh God.
Parental instinct kicked in, but sprained my ankle, and it wasn't like a sprain with a small S. It was a capital S. I had to go to the hospital and have so we told the band okay, backup vocals, overdubs, just do this, do that. And I have pictures sitting outside the studio with crutches and a cast. It was full on. I played the piano on one song later in the record, and Kit sat there just pushing down the pedals for me because I couldn't do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was a little drama around that one.
I think that's a thing that a lot of people don't kind of get about recording is that you kind of have the studio time booked. So you got the flu, you sprained your ankle, the baby's crying, whatever it is that's happening. That's just what you get, which I think also makes it special too. I mean, that's what all those stories kind of add it to the story of the album.
Do you guys like the studio? Are you studio people?
Well, Tony always asks the studio questions. He's the gearhead for
studios,
sure.
if nothing else, so I can go check out all the preamps and microphones. But I really love that destination studio thing. There's a great one here in Cannon Falls, Minnesota called Pachyderm Studios, and I've spent some time staying overnight. And there really is something special. Maybe you can speak to that with this record, where the band you're all together and you're sitting there at all hours, kind of working out charts and figuring out arrangements and kind of listening to mixes going in and out. Do you feel like that that kind of studio destination studio affects how the record turns out in the end for you at least?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think it absolutely impacts it. And the other thing I've sort of learned about records is their moments in time, where something is happening. And so depending on what your goals are for a record, but as an artist who's never felt remotely comfortable in the studio, it's a very intense place for me. And for too many years, I've treated it like a test that I'm taking. Let me just get a passively good recording of this song out so that I can then go play it properly live and learn how to play it. I mean, it's really hard. And you go back to when this record came out in 2007, I was very much that way, super uncomfortable in the environment. And so at least what I have now, though, are memories of the things we did and the way it felt and how it went down. And I've used those to also learn. And Jess was there. Jess was our tour manager, and now she's my manager. But which we got some good stories about that when we get to one of the other songs here. But I really I'm grateful for all the memories. That's sometimes all you have is the experience, because maybe you don't love the way a piece of your music came out or something, but you have this memory of the people you were with and how it felt to be there. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we want to dive into more of the music here so we can hear some of that magic that was captured when you were all hanging out together. The next track you picked out was Cabin in the Woods, which of course my mind goes to that movie from a few years ago. Oh my gosh. So, yeah. Making fun of horror films. Anyway, but I know that's not what this song is about. So tell us a little bit about anything that we should know going into this track?
Well, the two things, it's a duet of sorts with Caitlin Carey from Whiskey Town, and people always say you should write a song about that. It's like one of the more, I won't use the word annoying, but when people tell you should write a song about it, it's like I don't tell you should go do work here. Like, I don't need the stress,
Yeah.
But having said that, my lovely wife suggested one day, we were driving through Colorado. We saw this house so high up on a mountain, it didn't look that there could be any real way to get there. And we started talking about it, and I thought, boy, that could be very isolating. And I envisioned sort of what it might be like to live in a place like that and have nothing but the voices in your head, the good ones that tell you it's all going to be okay, and the the other ones that are like, man, you are fucked. So we started having that conversation, and she's like, you should write about that, and this is the song from that. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a listen. This is Stephen Kellogg, Cabin in the Woods, on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
I live up here in this cabin in the woods, up where nobody visits and probably nobody should. There's a lot to consider once you get inside the door. I got a box full of secrets buried under the floorboards. Where is all my family? Why did no one stay with me? Wailing walls, how could you give up on me? Wailing walls, blacker than you've ever seen. Agnes speaks, but I don't hear a word. Then this angel of mercy comes in like a vision. It's a great bird of prey weighing all my decisions. Yeah, the vulture swoops down with a match and some gas. Saying burn the whole place and the pain will pass. Where's the bluebird of my youth? In the absence of the truth, of the truth. Wailing walls, how could you give up on me? Wailing walls, blacker than you've ever seen. And out of a dream, a voice in my head. Mercy had left, forgiveness is dead. The guns have grown cold, the soldiers have bled, and I won't live. Wailing walls, how could you give up on me? Wailing walls, blacker than you've ever seen. How could you give up on wailing walls? How could you give up on me? How could you give up on me? How could you give up on me? It's blacker than you've ever seen. It's out of a dream, it's out of a dream, it's out of a dream.
All right. Stephen Kellogg with Cabin in the Woods from his album Glassjaw Boxer. Stephen Kellogg joining us today on the Back Catalog Listening Party. And folks digging on that song. And Stephen had a question about this song. Wanted to know if the Agnes mentioned in his song is reference to David Copperfield.
It is. It is a reference to David Copperfield. And that's somebody that knows me right there, that knows I'm tapping into to that. A lot of people have the Bible. For me, I've always had David Copperfield as like a sort of, there's a lot of great lessons in that book. And I was reading it for the first time in my life while making this record. And, the whole song, the lyric is really kind of a push and pull between the darker impulses and the better angels, as Dickens would say. And so, there's that line in there, Agnes speaks, but I don't hear a word. And Agnes in David Copperfield is very much the soothing voice telling you it will be okay. And even hearing the song just now, I mean, you kind of, those lines about just like, how could you give up on me? I mean, that sense that the sense of isolation, I still relate a lot to that. And I don't tend to play this song really at all. And I haven't heard it in a lot of years, but it's fun to listen to. I feel it still.
Well, now we're going to want to hear you play it live at the next request show, folks.
Yeah. Well,
Throw it out
a
there.
lot of people can relate to the isolation these days.
Yeah, especially now. Yeah. And I was thinking, as I was listening to this whole album in general, but that song in particular, because I could hear you doing it, like in my head, I could hear you doing it solo. And the last couple times I think I've seen you in person, you were playing solo acoustic. You didn't have your band with you. And so some of these songs, though, I imagine do make it into your solo set list. How does it feel listening to the band version? Like, do you think of them differently when you play them solo versus with a band, or do you just figure it's the same song, I just don't have the band with me?
Yeah, I mean, great question. And I'm going to put you think about your answer, because I'm going to ask you guys about this stuff. But no, I mean, the best songs sort of work in a lot of ways, and that's like, those are they're real friends. But there are songs, largely because I feel like, the angel voice, the part that Caitlin's singing there is always the affirmative voice. And when that's not in the song, it's pretty dark without much respite from the darkness. And so I did play this live on one of the streams last year. But I miss it, and I kind of slide the lines in there, but it doesn't make as much sense. So this is one where I actually really feel like it benefits from that other vocal. But I mean, I love dusting off songs, and experiencing them solo a lot of times allows me to sink into the lyric. And that's so much of what I enjoy about music is what is being said, so I have adored this stage of my career where I do play a lot of solo shows. I like the freedom of it. I like that when you make a mistake, who knows if it's a mistake, This is my mistake.
Twice, right?
Yeah.
Right. You don't have the band members giving you the side eye, like, what are you doing?
Right.
No, I know you guys are both in bands, but do you do solo work too?
I mean, with me, I mean, since my band is definitely my band, it's like my songs, and then I bring in a band. And with this year, especially, luckily one of my band members lives in the house with me, so I get to play some songs with one other person at least. But
Nice.
but I do miss having the band. But I just think I pick different songs. Like some of the same songs will enter the set, but I feel like there's some songs that old songs that I'm like, oh, we haven't played this in a while, and I'd be nervous to just spring it on the band, but if we hadn't played it, but I might be like, yeah, I think I'll do it, or this is a cover I was just thinking about. So I like the spontaneity of that a lot. But yeah, I mainly, in my head, I hear all the other parts. So in the live stream, though, I've been finding it interesting because I love sing-alongs, and I know you do too, Stephen. Because the last show I saw you do was, I think, at the Dakota, maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, love that place.
And it was great. There were some great sing-along moments of the whole audience singing along, and I love that about music in general. That's my folky side coming on strong. But I missed that. But I was realizing with the live streams, you can do sing-alongs even better. You can't hear their voices, but you know they're there. And what's great is people aren't embarrassed to sing along. So
They might actually be singing along.
I've actually been embracing that more. For a while, I did a weekly sing-along, Sunday sing-along, where I just did one song and we do it. I share the lyrics, and it was kind of fun, to sort of imagine. I feel like I could feel the vibes through the computer in a special way. I don't know.
No, I mean, I hear that too, and I feel like I really, as a guy who doesn't really like when I'm in the quiet moments when a place is chatty, there were elements of the virtual stream that became things that I really embraced. Like I didn't, because I always sort of, I mean, look, people have to talk during a concert, but especially if you're playing solo and it's a quiet moment and you hear someone laughing at a little, you're just like, it can really take you out of the moment.
It's like, yeah.
So I started embracing that side of it. And then I thought, even for sing-alongs, I would ask people to tag me, say, hey, sing along and tag me. And you get these beautiful things of someone singing with reckless abandon in their house. And that almost felt like that felt as incredible as anything that happens live, So
yeah.
And nobody's clapping on the downbeat either.
I know, and it's like the jerky side of me that's like, don't mess with my thing while I'm doing it. But
I totally get that. There is something almost, I don't know, like where you can make a connection with people who would maybe be too shy to do it.
Yeah, especially Minnesota. This is a real issue. People are a little more shy about.
But when they're at home and they'll film it and send it, I think that's really cool that they actually would tag you and send it to you. That's wonderful.
Yeah. No. Oh gosh. I mean, I will. And people singing so wonderfully out of key, but beautifully so. I mean, just like there are just moments that I will forever treasure in that, And it's funny. I went to comment in the comments before. And that's what logged me out. I was like, okay, apparently I'm not that tech savvy.
Well,
but I love that you're all tuned in. Thank you guys so much.
And speaking of the comments, Frank actually says, hopefully live streams will continue post-COVID. And I think they will be a part of our fabric, even as live shows come back, because it is a way of connecting with fans when you maybe aren't able to tour in places where you have people that want to hear your music. So I think that, and as the mother of a small child, I don't go out to as many shows as I used to, even if they're in town. So I appreciate the live streams as well. So
I was thinking about, I know some people that have mobility issues and things like, and there's a lot of people that just can't get to shows. And this has been a really special time for them in some ways about how accessible the music is. And I'd like to see venues and other places, think about that now that the technology is there and we're used to it, to provide the opportunity, even if it's paid, people can still pay their money, but
I do love the side conversations as well, like seeing I don't know, two family members from two parts of the country saying hi to each other on my live stream. Like that feels great, to see the connection happening. That's what happens here on the back catalog listening party.
I don't know what this means, Stephen, but I'm going to put it up there and just to prove your point there, Ellen. This is
exactly.
Great.
Well, and so there's a whole thread happening about Stephen's both tip jar.
How to pay me?
Yes,
you guys,
tip jar and merch.
I'm the wrong rapper. Don't worry about it. Just enjoy the conversation.
Well, this is great because what happened was someone asked if there was a PayPal because we shared a Venmo. And someone said, I don't have a Venmo. Is there a PayPal? And then Jessica, your awesome manager, said, yes, here it is. And it is, sorry. Tony, I think I jumped. There it is. The PayPal. So this is where the conversation leads you. So you can find ways to tip Stephen and also buy his music. And I will say, someone was on there looking at the merch and the gift certificates. But I will say, if you like the music today, buy it because hearing it, again, it's a really well-produced record and hearing it in its full fidelity, the way we are, is highly recommended. And it's a great way of supporting artists while they aren't touring in person because these are weird times.
They are. But yeah. Thank you all. Thanks anybody for caring about that. It's very cool. I appreciate that. Very sweet.
Well, kind of along the lines of the CD and the production value. I mean, it's really a high standard here. This is like, it sounds fantastic. Again, just echoing Ellen.
Thanks,
go buy the album. But thinking about those the vocal parts that were coming in, the counterpoints, and there's a lot of that going on. And one of my I love arranging, and I love arrangements, and I love sitting and putting on headphones and hearing, the stereo field and everything that's going on. Are you involved in that? Are you sitting in the control room, kind of working on that kind of stuff? Is that something that you do, or is that something you let the mixing engineer do?
Yeah, so I have I am very involved in the overall vision for what I want this record to feel like. I'll find records that I say, hey, this is the vibe I want for this next record. And I'll work with an engineer and a producer very much on, this is our true north. This is what I want to be popping out. On the technical side of it, I have very little taste in production. I don't know. Like I am as happy with the cheesiest of cheesy country albums as I am with the coolest of indie records, production wise. So what I've learned over the years is to try to surround myself with people who have more taste for, this would sound a lot better on this set of keys or this or that. But I will explain things to the band and to the producer, like, I want this to feel like my grandparents having their last dance after 50 years of marriage. And then I'll be like, make that. And if it's not like coming across that way, I'm like, I'm not feeling that, So I always have a lot of help, but I am a pitbull about that side of things. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love to see then the production notes on that, because I loved your example, Stephen, making it feel like your grandparents dancing after their 50th wedding anniversary. I'd love to know what other kinds of notes went into some of these songs. And maybe in this next song, you can tell us what you were thinking of when you were thinking of the production. The next song you picked is 4th of July. And I'm going to add this to my list. I've actually been working on a playlist these last few years of 4th of July songs. So this is another one I can add to the list. I'm excited because this is actually one of my favorites on this record. So awesome. I would love to, do you want to say anything about it, or you just want to dive in?
No, let's let this one fly and then we'll talk about it, after. Yeah.
Sounds good. This is Stephen Kellogg, 4th of July on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
She was on fire and wild and American. She burns it out, probably just because she can. And if I had $1 for everything I should have said, I'd probably still be busted. I would throw it all away again. The lightning bugs light up all across the southern sky. Some guys get it all and they don't even need to try. I watched you roll away, but you didn't even say goodbye. And now I hate the night, I'm guessing that's the reason why. And this is my life on the 4th of July. It isn't much, but at least it's mine. And I got in my van, ended up in Boston. Thought about my friends and how easily I lost them. I'd do it all again, I leave everyone exhausted. Some folks get a break, me I never got one. I thought of you at night when I would drink too much. If you thought about me too, you never tried to get in touch. Went back to school and I ran into some guys I knew. We started up this band, but we couldn't seem to get it through. We got some gigs, eventually we lost that too. Did you ever think that maybe if you're not happy it's because of you? This is my life on the 4th of July. It isn't much, but at least it's mine. I got a job selling ads for magazines. At night when I would play, I would think about her constantly. Everything I loved it somehow got away from me. And suicide, I talked about it openly. I finally quit, or maybe I got fired, I don't know. Doesn't matter, just as long as it happened though. Added up the fears and doubts I've been living with. Songs of light and bugs and schoolwork and all that shit. 'Cause this is my life on the 4th of July. It isn't much, but at least it's mine. I lost a girl sometime and a couple friends. Small talking parties, I never could stomach it. I'm old enough to say that I remember when, but I don't have the time for your nostalgia or your criticisms. You live and learn, me will I learn to let go. Parents and bosses and people who don't want you to grow. And I think that anything you want to, you could do, and no one's gonna tell me just who the hell I should sing to. This is my life on the 4th of July. It isn't much, but at least it's mine. This is my life on the 4th of July. It isn't much, but at least it's mine. Nobody's ever gonna take this away. It's a blueprint of your life. It's the end zone. It's the end zone. It's the journey.
Okay, there's the end. That was Stephen Kellogg with 4th of July here on the Back
Nice.
Catalog listening party. I was singing along. Luckily, my mic was muted, so I didn't disrupt the show for everyone else.
a
But
great
by the way,
tune.
yeah, such a great tune, and
Thanks, Tom.
it was great to see everyone join in. And I loved Hi James, since he's like it's walking into Cheers, and that's what I love is this family reunion, the Stephen Kellogg family reunion happening here. And Stephen, I know
Totally.
that's something that you actually do during touring times. You actually have like a barbecue whole thing.
10th annual is September. We're scheduled we're hoping this one will go September 10th and 11th. We do the SK family barbecue, and it's
Where is this, in case people want?
this year we're doing it in Washington DC, in Vienna.
Nice.
But we've done it in Chicago, we've done it in Northampton, done it in Connecticut a couple times. You know, it did it in New Jersey one year.
So is it like
what
a
about
concert or
Minneapolis?
something?
So yeah, we do. Well, you know, the critical thing, you need critical mass to make this work. So
come on,
is
Minneapolis.
good, but you know, I'm not sure. That'd be a little risky, but it could be cool. You know, we get together. We'll do usually 2 nights of shows, and the shows will be involved. You know, it'll be like we'll go deep and long. You know, there'll be big shows, 2 sets. And then during the day, we would have a big barbecue. We'd play lawn games, you know, wiffle ball tournament. And,
That's awesome.
you know, and so it'll be a little different this year, obviously, because you need more social distance. But we've been working out, like, we'll do outdoor bingo, and we'll, you know, and when it originally began, we called it the family barbecue, but there weren't really kids. And now people have grown up with us. So now people are bringing their kids. And so we tend to, you know, we'll do more to involve that. And it's been a grand tradition. It's kind of like, and it came about because I thought, if I could do anything with Tom Petty, what would I want to do? And I was like, I want to spend a weekend like hanging out, really getting into it, playing, you know, horseshoes and,
Cornhole.
you know, yeah, exactly.
I think that's such a creative and cool idea. And just something I want to touch on because it really struck me as I was trying to write a description of the show, and then what I do is I go to the artist bio, and then I couldn't find a bio. I just found all of these different things. I saw that you're an author, and you have all these albums out, and you've done a TEDx talk, and you have this family barbecue, and all of these things, and I think that's amazing. I think it's also kind of probably the way that musicians survive these days, but you just seem to have embraced all the different elements and of like, just being an entrepreneur and using your skills in the kind of the best possible way, really maximizing that. And I'm just curious where that came from and how you decided to apply that stuff, because I think it's a great template for any artist trying to make it, because you really are, it's much more than music, but yet it's still that same community feel.
That's cool. I appreciate you saying that. I think I fought against the wide variety for a number of years when I was getting going in music, because I would watch certain musician friends, and I thought, if we're not, you have metrics in your mind that you need to hit, and once you've had the joy of making music and having it really be your full-time thing, like it became it's a mixed bag, because then it also has to pay your bills. And so some of the joy slips out of it, and you're just like, okay, I've got to make this work. And then this beautiful thing happened probably eight years ago, where I realized I don't have to make this work. If I can, I don't have to do this. I can do other things. Like, my self-worth is not completely wrapped up in this the way I have made it be for so long. And, because some of your ambitions haven't been met, and some of your things you achieved, but they didn't feel the way you thought they would feel. And, and midlife, I think, is generally like this. You arrive and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I would be coasting now.
Yes, right.
What do you mean? I still have to keep working super hard? Like, okay. So, but that was very liberating, because it allowed me to get into, like, like, maybe we embrace the audience that's here. Like, I couldn't have worked any harder than I've worked in my life, but I also don't want to just be known as like a workhorse. Like, oh yeah, that guy can take a punch. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So we really started embracing, okay, if we're going to be like, if this is the type of artist we're going to be, how can we have the most amazing experiences with the people who are into this music or this message or whatever you want to call it? And can I speak? The TED Talk was an eye opener, because I was like, oh, I can go speak to, like, I get hired occasionally by businesses, multi-million-dollar business, and they're like, talk to us about success, Stephen. And I'm like, well, okay. It seems a little ironic to me, because in the traditional senses, I'm not sure I don't have all those boxes checked, but I do feel qualified to talk to someone about, how to embrace your life, because these things have shifted for me, and writing books or being, however it comes, teaching. I did a little teaching, at University of Hartford last year, and getting to talk to kids about songwriting and just writing in general. It's a gift. Like, I love all that stuff. So I have enjoyed the wide palette, but it took me sort of maturing a little more to embrace it,
Well, I have a question about the barbecue, and a lot of folks are saying that those were some of their favorite family and memories, and their kids still talk about going to the barbecue. Yeah, Pete. And
thanks, Pete.
So
Thanks
what I want to know, though, is
Willie Nelson. That was the inspiration.
Do you do the barbecue yourself? That was my important question I had for you.
Do I like cook? Do I cook?
Yeah.
Oh no, Mother Banjo. No, I'm not. I've had to learn. My cooking has improved because of the fact that I've been home for 365 days. But
so it's not cheese whiz on crackers anymore, Yeah.
No, you've seen me eat, and it's not a pretty thing. I don't.
I have
That's
seen
not.
you eat.
No, this is another example of bringing in people who know more than I do to help facilitate.
That's right. You got to get the right people for the right job.
That's right.
And I will say, someone, by the way, Frank was suggesting, if you do ever come to Minneapolis, he said Lake Harriet Bandshell. That's one of our amazing lakes, a great stage and a big park. Well,
fun.
Yeah,
well, you
that's
will
where I
keep.
proposed to my wife.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
right
know
from
that.
stage. Yeah.
Aw, so sweet.
Oh, that's awesome.
During a concert.
Speaking of spouses, Stephen, is this your anniversary? Did I read that today?
It is. It's the anniversary of when we first started. It's the 28-year anniversary of when we started dating.
Wow.
Which, I mean, that's up there with our wedding anniversary. Oh yes, there we go.
Cheers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
did I read that this is one of those stories that really do exist, where you meet someone in high school and end up with them? They're your soulmate.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I mean, she's mine. I think I'm hers. I hope I'm hers.
Well, either way,
that's
she's
right.
stuck with it, so that's the
I write
important
those
part.
nice posts. I'm like, we're cool, right? You still dig me? Like, we good?
You look for her thumbs up on the post.
Exactly. I'm like, yeah, I noticed you didn't like my post. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I was very fortunate. And in my book, I talk about how I recognize that is unique. I'm not so obnoxious as to be like, everybody should just find their soulmate and what's the big deal, but I did get lucky. Yeah,
That's awesome. Well, happy anniversary. We did have one question that I want to make sure doesn't escape us, because this happened, I think, during the song. Brad would love to know how SK determines the track order on his albums. And we have been listening to these songs, by the way,
Yes,
at least in order. They're not sequential, but they're in the right order.
right. Skipping songs, but they're still unfolding as the record unfolds. Cool question, Brad. And and also Brad is the one who did the March Madness thing that I was telling you guys about before this all started, where the songs vote against each other and stuff like that.
Nice.
So I feel like that is very much a feel thing, right? I mean, you have your songs, and sometimes it's just it's the journey you want people to go on. Do you want to leave them in a hopeful place or a contemplative place? Do you want to begin by saying, "Hey, welcome to the party," or do you want to creep in? And the wisdom was, prior to streaming and Spotify and Apple Music and all that, you always had to have one or two of your best songs in the first three, because you wanted to make sure people didn't leave before they got to hear what you had to offer. But that doesn't really necessarily hold up anymore, because we're in a different place. And yet when I make records, I really view it like this is a full statement, and this is I want to take you. I love it, and I view it as a high compliment when people take the time to listen in order, because certain songs only make sense in order, really. They're part of the journey. They're a palate cleanser, a segue, or and I don't know if you guys want to comment on this too. You both have made records, and
I agree with everything you said. I mean, I'm an album person. That's why we do this show, is we like to highlight records,
We're kind of album geeks. Yeah, and I was, I spent a good part of my childhood making mixtapes and then mix CDs, and it's an art form, and it's a statement. It is a full statement. It's from the beginning, from the first track to the end, especially if you're giving it, to your high school crush or something, It's there's a story there, and I think with albums, they all work together.
Yeah, and go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the format of your guys. Your show is so cool. This is right up my alley of what I love. I mean, this is a very cool format, so I'm enjoying it. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. We're going to squeeze in one more song because we need to before we say goodbye today. And this is In Front of the World. Right? Is that what we get next? Yeah.
It is.
So, is there anything you want to say? You want to dive in?
Let's. Will we have a minute when it's done? Or
we have.
Okay.
Yep.
Or just a hench film. Okay, then let's listen. Yeah, let's just listen.
Right. In Front of the World, Stephen Kellogg here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
it's hard to live in front of the world. There's only so much that you can pretend. Write down what it is you're thinking. Take each day as it comes. You never know what's hanging round the bend. And as far from the world as we get, I can swear that the two of us will always be the same. Figure out what it is you believe in, and if you must choose, try not to trade your fortune in for fame. And you'll learn, learn, learn. You wait your turn, turn, turn. And you'll get sick on the way by the things that people say. It'll break your heart against the wind, but you will just keep breathing in. Well, if you're scared to live in front of the world, I got news for you. You should be then. 'Cause when your confidence gets low and you got nowhere to go, just remember how you felt about me and our friends, and we'll learn, learn, learn. We'll wait our turn, turn, turn. And we'll get sick on the way by the things that people say. It'll break our hearts against the wind, but we will just keep breathing in. Watch the way you fall in love, 'cause if you're smart, you'll take it slow. And don't ask me about it, 'cause I don't know. 'Cause I don't know, no, no. But I'm gonna learn, learn, learn. I'll take my turn, turn, turn. If I get sick on the way by the things that people say, it'll break my heart against the wind, but I will just keep breathing in.
Beautiful stuff. That was In Front of the World from Stephen Kellogg's record Glassjaw Boxer, which we are revisiting today on Back Catalog Listening Party with Stephen Kellogg joining us from Connecticut. And yeah, a lot of folks loving that song. I forgot about the warm feel that the horns, like all that vibe is just so great. But tell us a little bit about that song. Someone was commenting on the story behind the song.
Well, I mean, I wrote this song for my brother when he was leaving for college, and I've told a lot of different stories leading into this song over the years because my brother's sort of like out of the movie Porky's or American Pie or something. So like, it's funny. I gave him this like, oh, here's some mistakes I've made. Maybe this song will help you as a gift. And, he's getting into all kinds of craziness that we'll leave off this particular hang. But, but then it becomes like a thing, the idea of I would keep breathing, which, I know we've heard that a lot in songs, but the reason we hear that theme so much is because I think as humans, we need to be reminded of that, like breathe, just keep breathing. And so, and now I sing the song when possible with my daughters. And it's absolutely, it's a stunning thing to have your kids sing your words. And it's like the advice coming back at you, and you're just like everything you want for your music spinning. And really, it's one of the great joys of my life to have gotten some chances to do that, so.
Well, so beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that story and all these stories with us today on Back Catalog Listening Party. This has been such a treat. I know.
It did.
The one good piece of news is that folks who like the record can buy it. And again, that link is in the comments. So you can find that there. You can also tip Stephen if you want to say, hey, that was really cool. And
here's a tip, shave your beard.
Yeah, exactly. And we mean money tips, just so you know. And then also the good news for some of our Patreon supporters is that we are going to be jumping on for a little after party with Stephen, and we're going to get to hear one more track from the record. So I want to thank everyone who is a Patreon supporter of Back Catalog Listening Party. These are the folks that give a little money every month to keep the show going. When Tony and I started this during the pandemic, it was just a kind of experiment, a coping mechanism, and then people really loving it and wanting it to continue. So these people make it happen. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, and our newest patron who came in today just to attend the Stephen Kellogg after party, David.
Thanks, David.
Thank you so much. And if you want to get on board and keep the party going and participate in some of these kind of fun special events, you can do that on Patreon. But mainly, thank you for being here, because this is what it's really about, is hanging out.
Really engaging to watch the comments here.
So
it seemed
great.
like a bunch of people at the barbecue or something, just hanging out and talking shop. It was great.
Yeah, someone was saying it was like Cheers, and I thought that was actually pretty apt comparison, is that we're the Cheers of online events.
And I noticed this is episode 53, which I think is cool, because that's like the beginning of a new year of the, I mean, I don't know. I'm into that stat.
Awesome. Well, and if you liked this episode, then you can share it with your friends. It will be archived on YouTube as well as on our website. And if you like it, give it the thumbs up so the bots will know to share it with more people and share Stephen's music with more people. And you can subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can find out about cool events. And I'll give you guys a little sneak peek. You know what we have next week?
Ooh, who do we got?
Dar Williams is going to be joining us next week. I know, right?
Hey, Jessica and I did a tour with Dar, sharing a bus. Jessica was my tour manager at the time.
Awesome.
And we spent a month in a bus.
Oh
together.
man! Well, maybe in the after party you can tell us what we should ask Dar
I will.
next week's show.
Any stories would be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, and again, thank you all for being here. Again, this is our favorite part of every week, and today was no exception. And to kick off a holiday weekend, whether you're celebrating Easter, Passover, or just springtime, spring break for Minneapolis Public Schools, we just want to thank Stephen again for joining us. And,
thank you so much for being here and sharing.
And happy anniversary! And we're gonna hop off here and get on the Zoom link. So if you're a Patreon
see you guys
supporter,
at the Rager.
Yeah,
see you at the Rager and the other link. The
And
link
for
the link.
everybody else, thank you for being here. We'll see you next week on the
Thank
Back
you all so
Catalog
much. Yeah.
Listening Party.
Cheers.
Cheers.